How a bill becomes a law in Washington state. Most people can tell you that lawmakers pass bills. Far fewer people can tell you how it actually happens. And once you understand the process, you'll realize something surprising. Most bills never become law. In fact, the overwhelming majority die somewhere along the way. So how does an idea become a law in Washington? Let's walk it through. I'm Karim Merchant, and I'm running for the Washington State Supreme Court. Step 1. Someone has an idea. Every bill begins with an idea. Sometimes the idea comes from a legislator, sometimes it comes from a constituent, sometimes it comes from a city government, a state agency, a business, a labor union, or a nonprofit organization. The source doesn't really matter. What matters is finding a legislator willing to support it. Without a sponsor, there is no bill. Once a legislator agrees, attorneys draft the proposal into formal legal language. The bill is then introduced into either the House of Representatives or the state Senate. At that moment, the bill officially exists, but it is still a very long way from becoming law. Step 2. Committee is where bills live or die. After introduction, the bill is assigned to a committee. This is where the real work begins. Committees specialize in different subjects: education, transportation, public safety, judiciary, healthcare, tax policy. Committee members hold public hearings. Supporters testify, opponents testify, experts testify, citizens testify. Sometimes a bill dies here. In fact, many bills never make it out of committee. No vote, no floor debate, no dramatic showdown. The bill simply disappears. For that reason, committee chairs often possess more practical influence than people actually realize. Step 3. The House or Senate votes. If a bill survives committee, it moves to the floor. This is the stage most people recognize. Legislators debate the proposal, amendments may be offered, speeches are given. Eventually, a vote is taken. If the bill fails, it's dead. If it passes, it moves to the other chamber. And then the entire process begins again. Step 4. The other chamber gets its turn. A bill approved by the House is sent to the Senate. A bill approved by the Senate is sent to the House. The second chamber conducts its own review. Additional hearings may occur. Additional amendments may be proposed. Another floor vote takes place. Sometimes the second chamber rejects the bill. Sometimes it passes a modified version. That creates another problem. Both chambers must agree on the exact same language. Step 5. Reaching agreement. If the House and Senate pass different versions of a bill, they must reconcile those differences. This often occurs through negotiation. Compromise is common. Political bargaining is common. Changes are common. Only when both chambers approve identical language can the bill move forward. Until then, there is no law. Step 6. The governor. Once both chambers agree, the bill goes to the governor. The governor has several options. The governor can sign the bill. The governor can veto the bill. The governor can sometimes veto specific portions of the bill. If signed, the bill becomes law. If vetoed, the legislature may attempt to override the veto. That requires a supermajority vote. As a practical matter, overrides are relatively uncommon. Step 7. The courts. Many people think that the legislative process ends once the governor signs a bill. Not necessarily. The bill is now a law. But that does not mean the law is constitutional. Eventually, someone may challenge it in court. A trial court may review it. An appellate court may review it. The Washington State Supreme Court may review it. At that point, the question changes. The legislature has already decided what the law should be. Now the courts must decide whether the law complies with the Constitution. That is where judicial review begins. The people's role. There is one final piece of the story. Washington is unusual because the legislature does not possess all legislative power. So do the people. Through initiatives and referendums, Washington voters may directly participate in lawmaking. In some circumstances, citizens can place measures directly on the ballot and enact laws without going through the legislature at all. That power was deliberately reserved to the people in Article 2 of the Washington Constitution, which means there are actually two paths to making law in Washington. One path runs through Olympia, the other runs directly through the voter. The real lesson. Most people think that government is controlled by a single vote, a single election, a single politician, a single governor. The reality is very different. The Washington Constitution created a system filled with checkpoints, committees, floor votes, two legislative chambers, the governor, the courts, and ultimately, the people themselves. Every one of those checkpoints exists for a reason, not because the process is supposed to be easy, but because the framers believed that changing the law should require deliberation, debate, and broad agreement. That's why most bills fail, and that's why the few that become law often shape Washington for generations. I'm Karim Merchant, and I'd be honored to serve as your next Washington State Supreme Court Justice. Primary ballots go out July 17th. Like and follow for more content like this.